Hello, going live to answer some questions. I'm gonna hop on Instagram here on my other phone, and I hope some of you join me today. I always look forward to these conversations. Good morning. Going live to answer any and every question that you guys have. Unless it's inappropriate, then I will kick you out. Happy Thursday. It's been quite a week. We have had multiple offers on our house, and we are really excited, but we think it's gonna happen really soon. And let's see, my retreat is booked full. My fall retreat is booked. You know, if I wanted to, I could probably squeeze more people into the 2 cabins that we have, but I don't want to do that. I want people to always have their own space and be very comfortable, and privacy. Privacy is really important to me, so we have an incredible group, and it's going to be so awesome. I'm super excited. So I am just here to answer any questions that you guys might have about anything. So every Thursday I'm another week pregnant. So today I am 23 weeks pregnant. I don't know, you know, you have like, the baby is the size of I think it was like a butternut squash or something last week. It was something big, and I was like, wow. But I don't know what it is this week, but he's getting big. Good morning, Zoe. Good morning, Sanja. Two people right there that I wish I could meet in person. I love working with people all around the world, but sometimes it makes me sad because it's like, I don't know if I'll ever meet you in person, and that would be so cool. Good morning. I have 3 people on YouTube. Good morning. Feel free to ask any questions that you guys have. That's what I'm here for. And while I'm waiting, I will put on my Vanilla Bean Noahic Balm Tallow Balm. I love this, especially this scent for the season that we're in. It is definitely, we are definitely moving into fall, which I am so excited about. And Noahic Balm is also going to be sharing their samples in every single gift bag that I have at my retreat. So I'm super excited. They have multiple scents: citrus, sapphire, woods, that's a good one for men, vanilla, unscented. I would love to come to one of your retreats one day. Zoe, I would love to have you. And Helen. Good morning, Helen. The 2 of you could help me in the kitchen. Zoe has been rocking my cinnamon rolls. Helen would eat every bone in the house. Good morning, Ike. Good to see you. Here's my first question. I've upped my fat content a lot, a stick of butter, and cook food with tallow, but I'm still so painfully constipated. Do you have any advice? My advice would be to, oh, what's up? My advice would be to look at your electrolytes. And then if you are who I think you are, I never see you on YouTube. Thanks for being here. You've got a lot of other stuff going on. So if you are dealing with SIRS, and a whole bunch of other stuff, it could definitely affect your digestion. Your stress levels could, but bumping up your fat and then the electrolytes are huge. Like, I take around 10 grams of sodium per day. That's a lot. So to look at literally how much sodium you're getting and go from there. Chances are you could slowly increase, and maybe that could really help your digestion. And electrolytes, I mean, the sodium is great for insulin sensitivity. It's great for your colon cells. Yeah, it's good to see you. So I would try increasing the sodium. Another trick is to drink a cup of really hot, salty water. Don't gulp the whole thing down. Take a couple sips and then wait, because you will get really nauseous if you swallow that down. It should taste like the ocean. It should be disgusting, but take tiny little sips, and that can help to pull water into your colon and produce a bowel movement. Now, that shouldn't be what you have to use to go to the bathroom every day. There's something going on behind the scenes here. It could be regulating your central nervous system. Your vagus nerve dysregulation plays into digestion. So you might have to dig deeper, but to keep you going regularly, which is really important, you could do that trick. And increasing the fat is good. Movement, which I know you're doing, is really good. Any type of twisting, which I'm not doing because I'm pregnant, but if you twist at your torso, that literally massages your internal organs and can help to produce a bowel movement. And that's something that I used to do all the time, just twist on the toilet, and it really does work. Can I ask about cholesterol? Is there a number that could be too much on carnivore? I forgot to ask you. No, I don't think there's a number that could be too much. I really don't. Mine is usually in the like 350 range or higher, and it's great. So context is key. Good morning. How far along am I? I'm 23 weeks. I am really showing. I mean, I have quite a bump, and we get to feel him every morning. David is definitely more active in the morning than at night. I've heard a lot of people say, like, he'll be active when you're trying to go to sleep at night, but he's not. He's definitely, I think he's sleeping. But in the morning, I lay on my back, and he will punch me and tell me that, hey, I don't have enough room. Lay on your side again, please. And it's the best feeling I've ever felt. It's incredible. We're super excited. So I'm due January 18th, and he's measuring to be due January 8th. So I think I'm having a big baby, which makes sense because my husband is very tall. I'm super excited. I definitely think we're going to be doing it in a hospital just in case. Like, I'm not ashamed to ask for an epidural if I need one. I don't think I will need one, but I'm not afraid to ask if I do. And just because it's our first time, maybe if we have another child, which I hope that we do, I hope we have a lot of children. We'll just see how far this world takes us if Jesus comes back before then. But I would definitely be interested in home births after this one, but we're definitely going to start in the hospital. We will not be getting any vaccines at all because now children vaccines, I saw somewhere that they are putting the mRNA vaccine into all children vaccines. And so we won't be getting any, just to be extra safe with that. Not that I wanted any in the first place. That was the plan from the start. Thoughts on lots of grass-fed butter? I think it's a great idea. Unless you're sensitive to butter, which is pretty rare, but it is anti-inflammatory. Butter will really help to calm your gut. It is full of butyrate, it's full of conjugated linoleic acid, and it's delicious. It's one of the easiest fats to eat because it's so delicious, and it is loaded with nutrients. So I think that's a wonderful thing to do. For anyone who it's appropriate. You know, there are people who are trying to lose weight. I don't think a stick of butter every day would be really wise, but butter itself is awesome. Good morning, Rebecca. Congrats on the upcoming baby. I have histamine intolerance / mast cell issues and have a few questions for you. I want to make your low histamine bone broth. If I save bones for multiple days, will the bones be high in histamine? If I save beef tallow to use for future cooking, is this high in histamine? So if you save the bones in the freezer, no. Freezing stops histamine buildup. And fat is generally lower in histamine, but it can still contain some, so I would do the same thing. Save it in the freezer until you're ready to use it. And then low histamine broth, by the way, my recipe calls for non-aged meat. I'm using Billy Doe meats, which is unaged. And so I actually make the broth from cooking the meat, not just the bones. And so making broth from bones versus making broth from meat in itself will be higher in histamine. So I would highly recommend finding some lamb roasts. If you have it, lamb, goat, veal, those are going to be lower histamine animals, and cooking the meat with the bone in. and making a broth that way versus just saving up bones. But you could certainly do the bones in the pressure cooker, and that would still be lower histamine than letting them sit out and then cooking them in a crock pot. Would something like carnivore crisps be high in histamine? I am traveling soon and looking for low histamine snacks if you have advice. Carnivore crisps have a lower histamine process that is kind of top secret. It's not just dehydrated meat, so it's definitely less histamine than jerky, but you'll have to, kind of depends on the individual. It's very rare that I hear someone has a reaction to them, so I think it would be worth a try for sure. And then other snacks, just while I'm thinking, the carnivore bar. The carnivore bar would be a good option. It is definitely lower histamine. Thank you, and God bless you as well. Thoughts on chocolate? I want to make your carnivore brownies and am wondering how chocolate affects the gut. Also, what chocolate chips do you use? So I only use chocolate chips for my husband. They're the Lily's baking chocolate chips. I also make my own chocolate from cacao butter and prime protein, and that is the best way to make it. Cacao butter is a great source of saturated fat, stearic acid, and then there's no junk in it. You can sweeten it with whatever you want. You can use glycine if you want. And my thoughts on chocolate are that it's extremely high oxalate, and there is a lot of lead being found in chocolate, and so I do not ever touch cocoa powder. It is it is fluffy and so dense that you're getting so much oxalate in such a small amount. The prime protein is beef protein isolate with some cocoa mixed into it, so the amount of cocoa that you're getting in 1 scoop or 2 scoops or even 3 scoops of that is probably, I would think 3 scoops, you would start getting close to the minimum effective dose of oxalate, because there's such a smaller amount of cocoa in the whole bag of prime protein. So it's chocolate flavored with real chalk cocoa, but it's not nearly as much as using raw cocoa powder. So that is how I use chocolate. I am also an affiliate with The Good Chocolate, which are chocolate bars. It's just clean, 0 sugar chocolate. It's delicious. I do not eat that regularly. I had a square the other day so I have not had any caffeine in my whole pregnancy. And I had a square of chocolate the other day, and I was totally wired that night. I couldn't sleep, and that's very rare for me. Very rare. And I realized it was just a little bit of caffeine in the chocolate. So I'm really sensitive to caffeine right now. But that's a good brand of chocolate. If you wanted to make chocolate chips from that, chop it up, put it in your brownies. But the brownies are good even without chocolate chips. I would stick with the prime protein, which is totally key for that recipe. Lowest histamine butter. I think they're all actually pretty similar. You might see lower histamine in non-fermented versus fermented, just because fermentation can increase histamine content. But I don't think even the fermented, cultured butters are actually going to give someone issues. It's pretty rare that I hear that. Thoughts on aspartame? It's poison. Sucralose is not good, but aspartame is really not good. And if you ever see sucralose and aspartame together, run. Do not touch that. So that's where I stand on that. And there's a lot of written, published research on both of those. So definitely read up for yourself. It's just not worth it. Aspartame is one of those things that they tried to cover up and say there's nothing wrong with it, because there's something wrong with it. Thoughts on canned fish? Good for someone who doesn't have histamine intolerance. And it depends on the fish. Like, I am not a big fan of tuna, period. Not because I don't like the taste. I actually really enjoy the taste of tuna. I love some seared ahi tuna, but it is a bigger fish, so it will be more likely to have more heavy metals, and that's just a proven fact. So I don't touch tuna. I really don't, especially during pregnancy, but I stopped eating tuna a long time ago because of that, because I did have heavy metal toxicity for a while, which has been taken care of. But any fish that I eat that comes in a can are either anchovies or sardines or cod livers. And I would eat canned salmon. You know, I think I have some for survival food. We have canned chicken and canned salmon. So it's really mainly just a histamine thing. If you have histamine intolerance, I would not eat anything coming out of a can, at least for now. Do you have experience with some of your clients in sending to remission in autoimmune disease like lupus through the carnivore diet? Yeah, not just remission, reversed. This word remission is, every time I hear it, I'm like, why did you only get that far? You should be able to reverse it. I reverse autoimmune disease with my clients, 100%. 100%. If it's just in remission, your journey isn't finished. I'm not saying that's not a good thing. That's amazing. It's still amazing in itself, but you're not finished. You can reverse those. And anyone who tells you otherwise, I disagree strongly. There are so many, basically everything that they said was incurable is curable. And all the time I get messages like, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? Doctors told me this. And it's like, doctors are just desperate to prove, to make you accept that it's uncurable so you can take their medication and shut up. That's their job, is to prescribe medications. Thoughts on cats as a pet health-wise? I don't think there's a big health risk with cats. I mean, allergies are definitely a problem. I actually love the idea of having an indoor-outdoor pet because they're going outside, running around in the grass, getting those microbes on their body, and then they're cuddling with you, and it actually helps us in a way that's grounding. And I don't mind getting mud on me when Moose is, you know, it was raining yesterday, Moose was all muddy, and we went for a walk, and I definitely got, you know, his tail was slapping me, and I don't mind that. So it's more of a preference, I would say, when it comes to cats. I have a cat, his name is Indiana, he lives with my parents now, and he's more like my mom's baby now, and he's very happy. He's 13 years old, and he's like a kitten. He's so happy, so healthy. That cat is blessed. And I love cats. So Moose is my first dog, actually, and Tyler convinced me to get a dog. And I have zero regrets. Moose is the best dog in the world. Sometimes I have to stop myself from talking about him so much. I guess I could talk about the benefits of having a pet, like in terms of endorphins and oxytocin and stuff like that. Playing with Moose definitely gives me a healthy dopamine hit, and it definitely raises my endorphins. Moose was there. I mean, we got Moose right after our miscarriage, and he was like my little boy. He was, you know, it was so nice to have this tiny living thing depending on me. And he's so sweet too. And I really just believe he was a gift from God because he's so perfect. He slept through the night in his crate. He never gave me issues, never. And he was just such a blessing to me emotionally and mentally. And I think that is a huge health benefit. Huge. It was definitely an emotional support for sure. Mental support. Traveling this weekend and we will be eating out. Thoughts. Look at where you're going ahead of time and consider calling ahead of time. Kind of just depends on how flexible you are. If seed oils are okay for you every now and then you don't need to call ahead. Just order some meat, ask for no oil, but just know that it might be on there. For me, seed oils are a non-negotiable, and so I always call ahead if it's a new restaurant, and unless it's a Brazilian steakhouse, because you know you have options without seed oils, but if it's just a regular restaurant like a Texas Roadhouse, I call ahead and I say, hey, may I please speak with the manager or the chef who will be there at 4 o'clock or whenever you're planning on being there. If they're not there, then speak with the manager. If they are there, try to speak with the chef directly because they will be preparing your food and in charge of the kitchen. And say, I will be arriving around this time. I cannot have any oils, please. No oils, no seasoning, no sauce. Just meat. I'm very sensitive. I have food intolerance. Communicate that clearly and so that they will know and be expecting you, because if you try to do it over the table at dinner time and there are people talking and the waiter is only paying half attention, it is really, you're just taking a gamble whether or not you're going to get what you want. So I think it's really good to call ahead. You can also look at the nutrition menu before you go. So every restaurant has a website, and that website at the very bottom usually is the nutrition info, and they have to put everything in there. And so you can actually look at the grilled chicken, and you'll see whether it has 0 carbs or 42 carbs. If it has 42 carbs, obviously that grilled chicken is marinated with something that has sugar and probably something you don't want. If it's 0, then it's probably just the meat. A lot of restaurants get their meats pre-marinated, or they're already pre-marinated and you don't have an option. And so you can even just look at those nutrition facts and see what is even possible before you show up. 5-year-old daughter has horrible allergies. Do you have any non-medicine suggestions? Food. Regulate her blood sugar with proper nutrition. Get good saturated animal fats in her to help heal and seal her gut. 100%. Nutrition is such a huge part of the innate immune system as well. So I don't know if it's seasonal allergies or what, but I had horrible allergies. I was allergic to my cat. I was allergic to my mom every time she would come home from the barn. She has a horse. I had hives the size of grapefruits on the front of my legs for months. I've had really bad allergies. I had dust mite allergies, and I had to like treat my room with all this stuff, and it was bad. And I do not struggle with that stuff anymore. It's so wonderful. I have seriously struggled with ground beef, so I mainly eat ribeye and sirloin now as a 2-year carnivore. It can still cause bloat, but ribeye sits the best in my stomach. Thoughts? So ground beef, my thoughts is probably that the ground beef is higher histamine. Steak versus ground meat actually takes more insulin to digest, which is why my type 1 diabetic clients don't really eat a lot of steak. But I don't think that's the issue here. And I'm not trying to scare anyone from eating steak. It's not like you're getting a ton of insulin eating steak. It's the best. But I think it's the histamine content that's giving you issues. My 8-year-old loves seeing moose in your stories. Oh, I'm so glad. That makes me so happy. Also, my 14-year-old autistic child is making small strides after starting carnivore. Improved focus, growing appetite, increased vocal sounds too. That is amazing. I love it. I am working with 2 people right now for children with autism, and cutting out the oxalate is huge, and then balancing their blood sugars, and then delivering all those amino acids to their brains for neurotransmitters and all that good stuff. That's amazing. I love to hear that. Why does it take more insulin to digest? Is it just harder to digest? Yeah, basically it takes longer to break down. In a nutshell, yes, that is why. Been seeing videos of people giving raw meat to very young children. Thoughts? I think it's a risk unless you know the source and you've really taken good care of that meat. And it just seems really unnecessary. I mean, I'm not against like tartare and sashimi, but like it's been treated properly, so I definitely wouldn't just be feeding my kid ground beef out of a tube that I got from the grocery store. That kind of sounds irresponsible. What benefits have you had from raw suet? Apparently animal fat is where it's at for healing. GAPS diet says that too. I've eaten so much, do not like it, and don't know what I should be watching for. I'm really glad that you're eating raw suet. It is probably the best animal fat that someone could eat. It is loaded with stearic acid. Stearic acid promotes mitochondrial fusion. So that is when 2 damaged mitochondria fuse together to create a new healthy cell. So mitochondria is where your energy is produced, ATP. Your mitochondria are really important, and suet, loaded with stearic acid, helps to promote mitochondrial fusion, which is awesome. So basically it will help you to be a better fat burner and a better energy creator. So suet is amazing. It's the fat that is specifically found around the kidneys, and it tastes like a candle. It definitely is like eating a candle. So what you could do is grate the suet, freeze it, and then grate it over your food like Parmesan cheese. It doesn't have to be frozen to do that. That's a good way to get it in, so you're not just taking bites out of raw suet. if you tolerate rendered fat, you could render the suet into tallow and then use that as well. You could make little tallow bites, pop them in the freezer, put a little salt in there. But I personally ate raw suet for that first year and before the first year, for years actually, to add extra fat because I digested it well. It didn't give me diarrhea, and I really felt a difference eating suet every day. Grassland Nutrition also has freeze-dried suet, which has a bit of a crunch to it, and that's also a good way to do it. My discount code with them is Tailor10, and that company is amazing. Seasonal allergies, she has been on mostly animal-based diet. Could it be the dairy? It could definitely be the dairy, yes. If you're not doing raw berry, I would most certainly say that it probably is the dairy. What's your opinion on turmeric for anti-inflammatory? Someone just asked me this yesterday. I think that there's a small subset of people who could benefit from turmeric. So yes, it has beneficial compounds, but it also has anti-nutrients, a lot of them. Turmeric is one of the highest oxalate foods. And so I don't touch it. I used to take it all the time, and I realized it was making me sick. Same with baby spinach, black pepper. So I do not recommend turmeric. Just don't. Oh yeah, that's okay. Do you think raw fat is less safe than raw flesh? No, I think raw fat is more safe than raw meat. Meat will gather bacteria. Fat is a preservative. You can leave fat out on the counter, and it will probably be fine. If you leave meat out on the counter, it will rot. So, no, I think raw fat is definitely more safe than raw meat. I love your shirt. Frog and Toad was my favorite growing up. Thank you. I got a bunch of big t-shirts from Amazon to wear during this season of life because all of my other t-shirts are way too tight. So I got this one recently. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right. Where do you get your raw suet from? Billy Doe Meats. They have veal, goat, lamb suet, beef suet, and it's really delicious. I used to get it from, I used to get everything from U.S. Wellness Meats, but I really love Billy Doe, and they have everything that I need, and it's non-aged, so definitely Billy Doe Meats. All right, 27 minutes, so I still have about 10 minutes or so. You know, I love that I know how to kick people out of YouTube now when they start making stupid comments. It's just a great feeling. Let's see, how about I report you? Awesome. Well, you just have at it, and I'll just keep reporting you. That's fine. Okay, is vitamin D from cholecalciferol? Okay, I actually don't know what that is. Someone asked, you seem very wise. Are you a doctor or maybe a nurse? I am a certified health and life coach. I have overcome over 10 autoimmune diseases, chronic Lyme disease, chronic C. diff, SIRS, and severe mood disorders, as well as digestive issues. And I am here to spread the message of hope. If you would like to know more about me, I wrote a book, and this is on Amazon, and I really poured my heart and soul into this. And so this journey taught me more than anything, because when you're fighting for your life, you will learn. You will learn what you need to learn, and you will experiment. And I also have a history in I went to college for medical coding before real estate, before health coaching and life coaching. I was in school for medical coding, and I took a bunch of courses on the body, the human body, learning terms. And I wasn't required to learn as much as I did, but I was very curious. I've always been interested in holistic nutrition. So even just that season of my life taught me a lot about the body, and just learned a lot. So I'm here to help people. Someone said, I think cholecalciferol is D3, not D2. So I think vitamin D3 is better to take than vitamin D2. D3 is more important, in my opinion. How would you recommend supplementing vitamin D? So I actually like to get it from foods, ideally, and the sunshine and the sun. My clients in Canada, if they're eating enough egg yolks, then they really don't need to take a supplement. But if you are deficient and you want to fill it with a supplement, just be careful, because supplements are dirty. They have shown, vitamin D supplements have been shown to be just toxic. I used to take a liquid one with olive oil, and I won't touch any supplements anymore just because I don't trust them. Same as olive oil. I don't trust it. It's being cut with seed oils, and that's been proven. So, but if you were to get a supplement, try to get a clean one without any seed oils added for sure, and then vitamin D3 is what I would recommend. Trying to convince my father to go carnivore/animal-based to heal the inflammation damage from previous strokes. Any studies or resources I could point him to? I would check out Dr. Stephen Hussey. He's a chiropractor, and he is so smart. He's very versed on heart health. Stephen Hussey, Hussey. He's an awesome person, and he has a ton of awesome content on his Instagram. What's the name of your book? Sorry, I couldn't see. It's called My Tailor Journey on Amazon. I learned that you have to take D3 in combination with vitamin K2. Ideally the MK7 form. Yeah, I've heard that as well. And that makes sense to me. I usually would recommend that people take their vitamin Ds with food. And so you could also take it with something with vitamin K in it as well. Most vitamin D supplements will come with vitamin K with it because of that, though. Are beef, flank, and short ribs a bad idea for people with histamine issues, or does it make a difference how they are cooked? So you could definitely cook from frozen to reduce the histamine content, and it is beef. So beef is going to be higher in histamine than lamb or goat or veal because it's a larger animal and it takes longer to process. And then the other thing to consider is how long has it been aged? Everyone is handling it differently, so know your source and you can ask them, how long has this been aged? The less, the better. May I please ask how you make your chocolate with prime protein and cacao butter? Thanks. Yeah. So cacao butter is a great source of fat. It is the richest source of stearic acid on the planet. Suet is the second richest source to my knowledge. And so cacao butter, I like the brand Terrasol. You can get it from Amazon. It is a great fat to travel with because it doesn't melt in the car. I leave it out at my retreats. We nibble on it throughout the day. And then you just melt it down into a pot on the stove. And then you add prime protein, and you can add a little extra sweetener if you want it more sweet. But you just mix it together, taste it, add some salt, and then you pour it into a glass dish and let it solidify in the freezer. And then you cut it up. You can do it with Lisa Wiedemann and I made some, we were experimenting with it, and we did like strawberry vanilla chocolates at my last retreat. They were so good, so good. That was her idea. It was really delicious. So prime protein, cacao butter on the stovetop, add more sweetener if you want, and add a pinch of salt, and then freeze it. What are all the supplements you take? So right now during pregnancy, I'm taking creatine and liver capsules. And I am sure to get enough folate via eggs. And if I don't eat eggs for whatever reason, then I have a folate supplement, but I've literally craved eggs every single day. I don't think I've missed a day. So, yeah, and creatine and liver capsules. I took liver before, but in the form of raw frozen liver. I have no desire to eat raw frozen liver right now, so I've been taking the capsules or the liver and kelp powder by Grassland Nutrition. I love that. That's what I've been doing the last couple days. There are a bunch of different liver, organ supplement companies. I prefer Grassland Nutrition because it's freeze-dried versus dehydrated, so that's lower histamine. And I know it's also grass-finished. A lot of these grass-fed companies are not grass-finished. So if that matters to you, Grassland Nutrition is the best way to go. Still taking minerals, still taking electrolytes, but those are things I've been taking since before pregnancy. And my iodine has doubled the amount because we need more iodine during pregnancy. Can't beat a Snickers bar though. Yeah, honestly, I think I would throw up if I ate a Snickers bar. It would be so sweet and disgusting. There are so many things you can make with this way of eating, especially if you're open to sweeteners. My peanut butter chocolate milkshake, if I make it with raw milk, especially, is so good. It's so incredible. I can make peanut butter cups. I have a recipe for that on my Instagram without the linoleic acid coming from the fat from the peanuts. Um, there's so much variety that you can do. If you like a Snickers bar, go for it. I think it's one of the best candy bars because it does come with protein, but I'm not a fan of candy bars. I'm sorry if you've already mentioned this a lot. I'm not social media that much anymore. Do you have an estimated date for your cookbook release? Okay, so my goal is to publish it before David comes, and I'm hiring a private chef for my retreat. And if all goes well, then I would like to hire him to help me finish my cookbook, because writing it is not hard. The hard part is taking all the pictures of every single recipe. That is a lot of recipes to make and a lot of professional photos to take. And so if this private chef is really well, he's great at plating things, and he's going to be making my recipes at my retreat, so I will see firsthand if he's the real deal, which I believe he is. And if that goes well, I would like to pay him to help me finish my cookbook. So that's my goal. If that doesn't happen, I'm not sure. It might be a while. It's gonna be a really good cookbook. I've put so much into it. It has a ton of recipes, and I'm still adding. Just want to be sure I don't finish. If you ever wonder, like, where can I get this specific nutrient in a food? Eat liver. Liver has everything. Do you think intermittent fasting and being mindful of ketosis is necessary to heal? There are many ways to do a meat-based diet, and Mary Reddick is a big proponent of doing it that way. So Mary Reddick, yeah, she is very high fat, and I don't think that you have to be in deep ketosis. I don't think everyone has to be in deep ketosis. Now, is it a benefit? Yes. Is being fat adapted and metabolically flexible really important? Yes. Is ketosis essential for everyone? No. It kind of depends on it. 100% depends on the situation. So if you have mood disorders, brain inflammation, epilepsy, even chronic pain, I would say, yeah, getting into ketosis regularly would be a huge benefit. And you will also increase your rate of autophagy. So when you're in ketosis, you're burning your fat, autophagy tends to go up, but there are ways to induce and increase autophagy without getting into ketosis. Exercise. Hot and cold therapy. People don't talk about that. It's not just ketosis. So my answer is that it depends on the person and what you're trying to heal. But I do think everyone would benefit from being metabolically flexible, because if you depend on glucose, you're screwed if you don't eat glucose around the clock. And it's a bad place to be stuck in. Eggs per day. How many eggs I'm eating per day? 6 to 8, generally. And to get enough folate for pregnancy, I believe it's 6. I think Helen told me that. Or Nisha Berry. Okay. All right. So I should start wrapping up. If anyone has a question, I'll take one more. 40 minutes goes by fast with you guys. These were good questions. You are very welcome. Thanks for being here. How do I like my eggs? I went through a season, my first and second, beginning of my second trimester, I made scrambled eggs with extra egg whites. Protein has been, I don't crave protein as much as I did when I was not pregnant, and so I just have to make sure I'm sneaking it in when I can. Unless it's a steak, I can eat steak all day. So I add more whites to my eggs, and then I eat them with salsa. That has been pretty much every day until I started buying duck eggs, and I love duck eggs, sunny side up. They are the best. So it's one of those. Do you think ground bison is more nutritious than ground beef? No, I don't. I think that they have a slightly different amino acid profile, but doesn't mean it's more nutritious. It will boil down to what that animal specifically was fed. But beef versus bison, no. Thoughts on wild blueberries? I love them. As a treat, if you tolerate them, I think they're great. I don't eat more than, a quarter cup of berries in one sitting. I'm not eating them to fill up, but on your yogurt or something like that, I think they're great, if you tolerate them. By the way, the raw suet tip from you was so helpful, much better on digestion than rendered fat. Awesome. I love to hear that. Yes, I will see you soon in the Steak and Butter Gang. It's coming up. All right. Take care, you guys. Thank you.